Mr. Jerry Vava. What's going on, bloody?
JTG.
What up?
What's up? You got a little bass in your voice. Look.
I guess because it's early morning. I don't know.
I know we don't usually record this early.
Yeah, well, we gotta
Well,
get
let's
in
welcome
it.
everybody to Giant Fundamentals, the podcast where men like us are discussing vital issues of mental health. And I want to start by asking, how's your mind? How's your heart? How's your body? What are you grateful for?
I'm just grateful for life, man. Um, and just for all my faculties, my eyesight, my walking ability, like all those little things that we really take for granted.
Yeah.
I was just taking time to really meditate on that, and just to be in good health. I mean, just to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
In 2019, I literally was on my deathbed. The blood clot was in my lungs. Like that was literally, Jerry. That was a year ago. Literally, yeah. It was this.
You
It was this week. It was this week. Well,
About
really,
six
Monday.
years.
Monday, huh?
You said 2019.
Yeah, it was 2019. Yeah,
So it's a year, not a year ago, but
6 years ago to date. Like
damn, you almost died last year.
6 years ago. My bad. 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was looking at my calendar earlier this week, and I was like, oh shoot, this was the week where I went into the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, this was the week I went into the hospital, man. So just meditating on that, I'm like, yo, I would have been gone for 6 years now, kid.
So do you think about that time period from time to time in your life? Like, does it randomly come to your mind, or is it only on the anniversary?
It doesn't. I don't know if yeah, I guess it does. Maybe sometimes when I'm speaking to somebody and they bring something up and I make a point because it relates to it. Yeah, but I don't really think about it a lot. But it just happened to pop up in my mind like this week, and I'm like, wow.
When it comes into your mind, like what is your thought process? Like because yeah, we all have those near death experiences, but like what is really transpiring in your mind while you're going through, like, wow, I almost, like, I could have been at a gravesite, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this time around when I thought about it,
Mm-hmm.
it helped me to really put my life into perspective in terms of how I show up for people that I love.
Mm,
What I mean by that is I have a tendency to overdo it.
mm-hmm.
And as a result, it seems as if it comes off as controlling because it is. But I mean great intent. I have great intentions. So how that all connects is I'm like, if I wasn't here, life would still have to go on.
Yeah.
Life doesn't stop. My life has stopped, but my wife's life continues. My
Mm-hmm.
kids' life continues.
Right.
Everybody' life around me continues.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to operate like that while I'm living and
Mm-hmm.
not put so much on myself to feel as if I have to make sure that everybody's okay. I have to make sure that everything is okay. I have to make sure that everything is in order. That's
Mm-hmm.
not my job. That's not.
Does
So,
not, as a provider, as a
no,
quote
not to,
unquote.
no, heck no, not to overdo it. No, because that's going to lead into our topic for today. That's where the resentment comes into the picture as men, as we're going to be talking about resentment. This is how we become resentful because you're overdoing it. And as a result, you can't overdo it and also take care of yourself.
That makes sense.
So now I'm like, I'm taking a step back. I'm like, okay, just kind of chill a little bit. Like life is going to still go on. Things are still going to happen.
All right.
So this time around, when I thought about that time, that's what I thought of.
Yeah. Yeah, my heart is full. I think coming off of this Valentine's Day weekend, um, listening to different people like Esther Perel on Instagram, I took an initiative, not only because sometimes we look at it as romantic, you know what I mean? And not everybody's big on holidays, right? But I love love. So I just took more time to, like, love the people that's around me, like friends and family, not just focus on romantic love. Telling my kids how much I appreciate them and things of that nature. My mind is good. I feel like I'm working on my mental strength, getting back into like reading more and just listening to different podcasts, expanding my mind. Body feels good. Worked out 3 times this week. Clap it up for you, boy.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Getting back in there. I did legs yesterday, so tomorrow it's gonna be on and popping with
Yeah,
the
I did like.
soreness. And I'm just grateful for rejection. I think as men, we're taught or programmed to get used to it,
Mm,
right? And a lot of times we just roll it off our backs, like, oh, we got rejected or whatever. And to your point, a lot of women don't really understand like what it takes to like accept rejection.
mhm.
But the part that I'm grateful about is, like you said, I've also been in situations where I did too much. And because now I'm on the other side of not doing too much, sometimes I don't even know how to show up properly. It's
Yes.
confusing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it is. It
So
is. It
now I'm
is.
in a space where it's like, okay, I'm gonna do what I need to do, what I feel like needs to be done, but not for that person's gratification or validation, but because this is just what I have from my heart. And I put it out there, and not anybody, if they reject me or if they accept it, hey, it is what it is, right? That's how
Mhm.
I want to continue to move. Versus in the
Yeah.
past, I did so much because I wanted that person to feel so good and feel so safe. And
Yeah.
then I feel like the man because I saved the day and all I was doing was killing myself. So that's definitely what I'm feeling. Do you have any M&Ms today?
Yeah, I actually do. Shout out to one of my clients who's been listening to the pod. He
Yes.
he, he was like, "Yo, I got an Eminem for you, man." I was like, "Eminem?" I said, "Oh, the podcast." So, this track by Will Smith and Russ.
Okay. I see Will Smith
Will
is
Smith,
coming back.
yeah, nah, he dropping some heat too. Some next,
Yeah.
yeah. He says, "I'm a work of art, baby. Look at me. I'm a work of art. Now they're framing me, painting in the dark for the therapy. I'm a work of art as I live and breathe. I
Mm,
am the paint, and I am the brush, and I'm the canvas. I am the saint. But if you touch, I am a savage. I am a Libra, but I identify as a Cancer." So it
mm.
could go on and on. But when I hear that, I hear someone that is like completely taking charge of their life. They're saying, like he breaks it down. He starts out by saying, "I'm a work of art," and then he works backwards,
Yes.
right? Yeah, I'm a work of art. They're framing me. I'm painting in the dark. And then he talks about therapy. Then he's like, "I'm a work of art." He said, "I'm the canvas. I'm the brush." It's like I am everything. I am in control of building and creating my life the way that I see fit.
Yes. No, I agree. To add to your point, I see someone that has done some shadow work and is saying, I am everything. You got to take the good with the bad, right? That's the artwork, right?
Yes.
Like perfection is in the imperfect parts of ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I see him appreciating the totality of who he is, and it's like he says, I'm art, but now they're trying to frame me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I see the double entendre there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you trying to box me in, but at the same time, you're also trying to make me be something that I'm not. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to show you that I'm a work of art, right? I'm not only the paint, but I'm the paintbrush. So I control my destiny. So it's
Yeah.
like so many bars, spiritual bars in like so many deeper meanings. And I love that. I love the way Will Smith, his mind and the way he thinks. I can relate to him a lot. And I can understand. Like he is really, when Dave Chappelle says we're all here just having a human experience. Will
He's
Smith is
the
that
epitome of that.
example of a human
He
experience.
is the epitome of that for sure.
Like
He is
you can't you
definitely.
can't get no better than that,
It's
right?
true.
From the highs of
Mm-hmm.
highs to
Mm-hmm.
the lowest of lows. He's that boy a black he a black Buddhist. Spiritual.
It's true.
Oh man. Anything stand out to you in the sports world? The NBA. I just started watching they got a Showtime documentary on they beat the Dream Team.
Oh, it's on Showtime?
It's on HBO, sorry. They merged
HBO?
together.
Okay. I didn't know
HBO.
it was on, I didn't know where it was. I didn't know where
Yeah,
it was.
I just popped it on this morning and I was like, "Oh, it just new. It came out this weekend." So,
Yeah. I just didn't know what platform it was on.
yeah, it's on
Um,
HBO.
I like how they're coming out with these they're doing these documentaries because they're also doing one. They also did one on the Dream Team. I think Court of Gold is on Netflix.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, with KD and KD's talking. I put the clip in the group chat with the boys. Like he's
I didn't
getting
click it,
emotional.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. That part where I was like, dang, he got emotional. Like I felt him what he was saying because he was like, coming from where I come from, man, people don't even like to talk to each other. People got beef and stuff. And to come to the Olympics and see how everybody's banding together and
Mhm,
everyone is excited, you see all this happiness. It's like, yo, it's crazy that basketball could be the thing to do that for people. And he was just like, yo, basketball saved my life. That's when he started getting emotional. He was like, yo, basketball really saved my life. Like, it gave my family a better living. Like, it got us
mhm.
out of the hood. It was really good, man. I was like, yo, I got to really catch that.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps just thinking about it. Us growing up in Miami,
Yeah.
you don't talk to people, right? Like, why you so friendly, Jit? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then the ones that are friendly back, they might be trying to rob you or do something behind your back. So
Mm.
I could understand what he's saying. Like, to think that this game, by putting the ball in the hoop, is bringing every millions of dollars and also bringing everybody across the world for
And
one
it's so crazy because the guy that actually created basketball,
Namesmith. Yeah.
Naismith, yep, he this is the purpose that he created it for. He said that he created basketball so that young men could be saved. Yeah, one of my boys told me that. I was like, whoa, for real? He was like, yeah, that's why that was the purpose of him creating basketball.
Man, that's deep.
Yep. That's
That's
serious. That's serious. Yeah.
serious
So
for real. Well, let's get into a serious topic now. You know what I mean? So, our main topic: 5 ways to know if resentment has taken over your life. And before we get into like those 5 ways or those 5 topics, can you kind of like break down what resentment is and how it shows up sometimes?
okay. So essentially resentment is just this strong, best way I could put it, like the strong sense of anger and frustration
Mm,
that is literally you're literally carrying it. So there's one thing to be angry at a situation and then just let it go and just move on.
mm-hmm,
But a lot of times, resentment is something that where it's anger, it's like anger prolonged. That's really literally what it is. And now you're showing up in life with that anger. You're relating to family members, friends with that anger. Everything about you is just like you're just like a Debbie Downer, so to
yeah.
speak. And it really comes from early childhood experiences for a lot of people
Oh wow.
where if you are a product of a home where you were neglected, you are abandoned, there could be depression that forms from
Mm-hmm.
that, but also with depression there comes an anger, and that's the thing for a lot of men. What we do, we deal with our depression in two ways: is either we isolate
Mm-hmm.
or we deal with it with explosive behavior, just being angry. Over time, if that continues on like that,
Mm-hmm.
then you develop this harsh, stern, hard-hardened sort of persona. But that's really that's really resentment. That's what it is.
So it's not just something that, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, the resentment is built into the relationship for different reasons, or partners wronging each other. You telling me I could even come into a new relationship?
No, no, absolutely, bro.
Wow.
Absolutely. Many people don't recognize that you're bringing the resentment into the relationship. You came into the relationship with
Wow.
it. So what ends up happening is you come into the relationship with resentment.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have the best partner in the world,
Yeah.
but because you're coming to the relationship with resentment, you're viewing what your partner does from the perspective, from the lens of someone who's resentful. So
Mm-hmm.
now it causes you to misinterpret what your partner is doing. This is
Yeah.
why we say perception is not always reality,
Right.
because what you're perceiving is from the lens of resentment, and your partner doesn't mean anything by that. So there's one thing about resentment is you can feel like people are always trying to do you wrong. So
Right.
if that is the perspective that you have, you're going to look at your partner, you're going to look at a boss, you're going to look at a friend, a family member, always from the lens like, oh man, they're trying to get one over on me.
Mm.
And that's not what's happening. But because that's how you processed your childhood issues, your childhood trauma,
Mm-hmm.
you come into the relationship and you move forward in life with that type of perspective. And that literally is what damages relationships.
Right. I talking about damaging relationships from different experts that I've listened to. People say the cause of divorce, number one reason is money, then there's infidelity. Honestly, the cancer of marriage is resentment.
Mm,
You know what I'm
I,
saying?
yeah.
We could talk about heart disease and diabetes, but the cancer of marriage,
Yeah.
of the body of marriage, is resentment because it's a sneaky, subtle disease in a marriage that most people don't even realize what's going on.
And bro, not even close. Resentment causes you to self sabotage.
Wow.
It literally does, because literally, like I just said, like you might unintentionally hold yourself back,
Mhm,
or you may engage in behavior that literally prevents you from
mhm,
moving forward, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in work, whether it's in your personal growth, because of this unresolved bitterness. Because it starts off from you experiencing life at a deficit. And when I say at a
mm,
deficit, I mean at an emotional connectivity deficit from your parents.
mm,
So once you experience that, which comes in a form of abandonment and neglect,
yeah,
now the next thing that happens most of the time is a depression.
okay,
You become depressed.
mhm,
And the way that depression shows itself is through being a loner, isolating yourself, and a lot of the times, especially for teen boys, it comes in the form of anger, misbehaving. And then you develop this thing where you're just ultra bitter towards life. And then from the bitterness comes resentment.
okay. So let's get into the 5 ways to know if resentment is taking over your life. So the first one we see here is lashing out. Is there a particular way someone who is dealing with resentment lashes out?
No, it's no necessarily a particular way. It's just like lashing out. Like, for example, it could be something very, very small,
Hmm.
very small. Like someone is 2 minutes late to an appointment, and you're like, "Yo, what happened? Like, why you didn't do that?" And you just start going in,
Hmm.
right? That's the lashing out part. Like the lashing out has no grounds. It's like what's that term that they use? The punishment doesn't fit the crime.
Got you. So it just like this, it could look like, wow, he's just blowing up out of nowhere.
Right. It's like it's confusing for people who are experiencing you lashing out. It's like, whoa,
Mhm.
like wasn't that
Isn't that
was not
serious?
a big deal. It's not that serious.
Right.
So when you start to see yourself responding in situations that are light, and you're responding in a way where you're lashing out,
Hmm.
this is how you know, this is one of the ways that you know that, okay, resentment is present.
Okay. And then uh, two, I'm getting triggered because these sound like all Haitian principles. But so we got lashing out. There's one. The second thing is lack of empathy.
Hmm.
So how does that look like?
So, like I mentioned, in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
When you experience resentment, there is a you're experiencing it because there is a lack of connection and safety in your life from your caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
So because you experience that lack of connection and you experience that lack of safety, you tend to wall yourself in emotionally
Yeah.
and you close yourself off from other people because you're trying your best to keep yourself feeling safe.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, when you wall yourself off like that, you can't truly understand what other people are going through. So, perfect example, I remember a time when I was like, I had to be like 17, 18, between 18 and 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being at the church. And at that time, I was the assistant youth director. And the youth director, he was saying something. I forgot what he was saying. But then we were just talking about the kids at the church.
Mm-hmm.
And they would always say, "Oh man, school is so hard. School is so hard." And I'll just be like, "Man, get out of here! Like, man, school not that difficult, but y'all tripping. Like,
Mm-hmm.
get over it." And the youth director, he told me, he was like, "Yo, like, that's their struggle. Like, you can't diminish their struggle just
Right.
because you think it's not a big deal. That's their struggle."
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, I was exercising a lack of empathy, and the reason why that, as I look back, the reason why that was is because I'm looking at my life and I'm saying, look, I ain't got my parents.
Mm-hmm.
I You guys have a whole lot more than I ever had in terms of like my home environment. So you're not going through a lot. I'm the one that's really going through things. I'm the one that's really been through things. So I'm comparing experiences and I'm putting my experience above theirs. So I'm saying like, oh, like, yeah, you're not really going through anything. But they are going through something. That's their experience. That's how they feel. But I have a lack of empathy towards it because I'm pretty much being a victim on the low, not realizing it.
Yeah, because you have a lack. They gave you the lack of empathy. You
Right.
like Trump everybody else. They gonna get the lack too.
Yeah,
In a
exactly. Exactly. It's just an automatic thing because I'm like, I didn't have anybody, like you said, to show me, to empathize with me.
Now, I do see this. I definitely see this. I want to talk from my point of view, and I think other men can relate to this in relationships, right? Where I felt like when it came to my feelings, because, a lot of women are emotionally selfish. We'll leave that for another podcast episode. I know all the women listening right now probably crashing their cars, but because women are naturally emotionally selfish, I felt like there was a lack of empathy when it came to my feelings. So now when it's time for them to vomit on me or what you call that when they just overload us,
So flooding. Flood.
flood us with their emotions, I'm like, all right, okay, yeah, you had a tough day, I had a tougher day. So
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
yeah,
now that resentment is being
yeah,
built from that, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
can you
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. You asking me something? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, yeah, it's like, can you speak to like how that, how men go through that in their romantic relationships, not even realizing it's coming all the way from childhood trauma based on your explanation.
Yeah. Because the thing is, we beat the dead horse here. Like we haven't been given an opportunity to express our emotions as boys
Mhm.
in a healthy way without being judged or ridiculed.
Mhm.
But then I have to come into a romantic relationship and be able to hold space for you emotionally. And I don't even know how to hold space for myself emotionally because I was never taught that.
Mhm.
And there is an expectation that I have, whether I realize it or not as a man, is I want you to hold space for me too. But I may not even know how to communicate that.
Hmm.
I may not even know how to communicate to you that I need you to hold space for me. And if you're a guy that has this good guy persona, this good guy syndrome, what you're going to do is you're going to think the right thing to do is to self-abandon and
Yeah.
just take all your partner's emotions and just take it, and then this is what causes you, or this is what considers you a good man, but it leaves you at a deficit.
Right.
The reason you, and the way you know it's leaving you at a deficit is when you feel that disdain, like, okay, here we go again. Like, here you complaining about your life, but I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and you don't even realize that I'm carrying all of this. You don't even see it. You're just more concerned about how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the moment we say, we get the courage and we have the understanding to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Oh no, this is not about you right now. This is about me. And I'm like, yo,
Yep.
it's always been about you though. It's always
Exactly.
been about you. It's rarely been about me.
Right.
So that in itself, those sorts of interactions will cause resentment over time. And we don't even realize that it's because at the core of us, and you don't necessarily have to experience childhood trauma, but at the
Mm-hmm.
core of us, as when we were boys, we were never given the opportunity to be heard. This is why we will lash out. This is why we will have poor behavior, because this is our way of expressing that, hey, we're unhappy, because the energy has to come out some shape, way, or form. That sadness, it has to come out some shape, way, or form. That that inability of being heard, like we're not being heard. And then now
Mm-hmm.
you go into a relationship where you're not being heard again. It's like all that is triggering, and we're trying to navigate through it, but it's challenging. It's tough.
So then I guess that goes into our next component, which is lack of trust. Right. So now we don't have that open space, right, to give our emotions. We haven't been taught that. We're not even comfortable with that. And women haven't even been comfortable hearing us tell our emotions. So there's
Hmm.
so much at work. You said the lashing out. We have the lack of empathy because nobody showed us empathy. So then now the next step is what? Lack of trust. What does that look like?
So, like I said earlier,
Mhm,
you have a lack of trust
mhm,
because the way that you're viewing the world,
mm,
the way that you're viewing others,
mm,
the resentment has hijacked your perception and your
mm,
perspective. So now you're always on guard, where you can be in a relationship with a woman
mhm,
and she could have your best interests at heart.
mhm,
She could want the world for you.
mhm,
She could serve you. She could support you. She can be there for you in every which way, whether it is emotionally, whether it is financially, whatever which way she can be there for you.
mhm,
But because this resentment that you have lodged in you,
mhm.
you're misinterpreting her actions. And because you're misinterpreting her actions, that's where distrust comes into the picture. Because the thing about resentment, what a lot of people don't recognize is that there is an anxiety component to resentment.
Okay.
That's where the distrust comes into the picture, because you're like, yo, I got to kind of watch my back. I got to make sure I look out for me.
Mhm,
And to be quite honest with you, a lot of times we don't figure these things out
mhm.
until we actually get into the relationship.
Right.
But you only figure them out when you get into the relationship if you are actively doing your work.
Wow.
And I feel like a lot of relationships end prematurely because both persons, or let's just speak about the men, as men, we're not doing our work.
Right.
And then we get into this one relationship, and then we have this level of distrust. Oh, she was doing this and she was doing that, she was doing this, so on and so forth. But it's misguided. It's not true. It's the
Right.
resentment that you have that made you see it that way. Then you end the relationship, then you get into another relationship. You have not dealt with your mess because you've been so concerned about pointing the finger and blaming the woman. You've been so concerned about doing that. And the thing about what a lot of us don't recognize is that, and I always tell my clients this, what's happening in the moment is just pointing to something that happened in the past.
Mm,
You have to, don't stay focused on the moment. Don't stay focused on she broke your heart. No, somebody long before broke your heart to make you feel as if she's breaking your heart, which is your parents, your mom, your dad. So if your dad tells you, "Oh, I'm gonna take you here," and then he backtrack, and then your dad is a person that always that he rarely keeps his promises. That's heartbreak. We don't look at it as that, but that's what it is. That's heartbreak. That heartbreak creates a belief that, man, I'm just not worthy. I'm not good enough because my dad doesn't take time to take me wherever he said he's going to take me or hold his promises. As a result, that turns into resentment. Now you get into a relationship where your partner may say, "Hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z," and they don't do it, or let's say they take their time to do it. You automatically jump to conclusions. Oh man, I can't trust them. But it's not them. It's
Right.
literally pointing to something that's greater. It's your dad that broke your heart from a kid that made you feel as if, man, if I can't trust my father, then there's nobody I can trust. So
Right.
you go into the relationship with that.
Yeah, that resentment, it makes you feel like everybody's against you.
Bro, I felt like that for ages,
Wow.
And I still here and there still deal with that. I'm like, yo, and I have to really stop. I'm like, yo, is this is what's really happening? Or is just me like not making it? Well, yeah, essentially making it up. That's literally what it is. I'm
Right.
essentially
Right.
making it up. So
Like,
there's a continual work that you have to do in order to literally sharpen your lens and your perspective and your perception in order for you not to live life from the frequency of resentment.
okay. Well, in the terms of making it up, the next one we have here, number 4 is constant comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that look like in a relationship or with that's dealing with resentment?
Well, you could be looking at other people and
Okay.
saying, man, they have it better than me.
Mm,
They have it better than me. Like, why can't I have a life like that? Mind you, you don't really know what's going on in their life. And that's the danger of social media. All right. You don't really know what's going on in someone's life. But
right.
that resentment that you had from when you were a child, it makes you start to see things, situations, and people in a way that's not true.
Mm,
Because you're such a victim, and you are technically, when you're abandoned and neglected, you are a
mhm,
victim, right?
right.
You are. Okay.
Mhm,
Like, let me not say you are a victim. You've been victimized. Let's say that instead. I
okay.
don't want to put
Okay.
any labels or just, you've been victimized.
Mhm,
So a lot of times when you're victimized, especially when you're a kid and you have no one to explain to you what the fuck is going on, you're gonna come to conclusions on your own. So like I've told you before, right? When I saw your family and I saw other families growing up, I was like,
mm,
yo, like y'all have it good.
yeah.
Because the assumption is you have both parents, so your
Mhm,
life must be better than mine because I have no parents.
mm,
So you start to compare, and then you have a resentment towards life. It's like, yo, God, why did I have to end up in this type of situation?
I
Why
see.
did it have to be me? So you're thinking all those thoughts, those negative thoughts, that's literally adding fuel to the fire of the resentment
Well, and
because you're
that's
comparing yourself to other people.
exactly, and that's number 5 is the negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the last step of well, that's the last of the 5 is it's funny how you brought it all together is those negative thoughts. And I know we've all been around someone that it seems like everything bad is happening to them
Yeah.
every single day. Like they wake up on the wrong side of the bed every day.
Yeah. It's because
Hmm.
your core belief is life is not fair.
Hmm. Hmm.
Your core belief is I'm not good enough. Your core belief is I'm a bad person.
Hmm.
So if those are your core beliefs, mind you, a lot of us don't even realize we have these core beliefs. If those are your beliefs, then you're going to act those beliefs out based off of how you're seeing the world.
Mm-hmm.
Everything to you is going to be negative. Everything to you is going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the best situation, you're going to find a way to infuse negativity. Why? Because that's how your thought process is.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that is damaging to relationships across the board. Literally, how can you be happy in life holding on to the bitterness and resentment? You can't. It's impossible
Mm-hmm.
because you're always going to be viewing things from a negative perspective based off of what you experienced in your primary years.
Mm-hmm.
All the negative thoughts start to swirl. Like I remember it's not too long ago, like maybe a week or two ago, my son, he was like, "Oh, I'm stupid," or something like that. I said, "What do you say?" He said, "Oh, I'm stupid." I was like, "Why are you saying that?" He said, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
because I messed up on this and that, whatever." And I was like, "Listen, you're not stupid. You made a mistake. You didn't know what was going on. Like, don't talk like that to yourself. That's not necessary."
Right.
Now, a kid who doesn't have a parent that takes time
Mm-hmm.
to emotionally invest in their child, if you don't have that parent, you're left to have those type of negative thoughts become an avalanche.
That makes
So
sense.
this is how the negative thoughts just start. They grow, they grow, they grow. But I've just done my part. I don't know how far it goes, but all I know is I heard him say this, and I'm like, hey, this is not true, X, Y, and Z. I can
That's
tell him that, and I'm giving him the opportunity to be able in the future as he grows older to be able to refrain negative thoughts.
mm-hmm.
But when you're someone who has so much resentment towards life in the world, it's hard for you to reframe those negative thoughts. You just keep going down the rabbit hole of negativity, a negative mindset, and then it turns to negative behavior. It turns into negative aura, and then people don't want to be around you. And quite frankly, you don't even want to be around yourself.
Exactly. So to kind of close this out, what are some key things that people can do to fight the resentment in their lives?
I think the first and foremost, you have to be able to go to the core
Mm-hmm.
of where does this resentment come from? Where did it start?
Mm-hmm.
You have to go to where it started. And 9 times out of 10, it comes from our relationship with our parents because our parents, they are supposed to be our secure attachment figures. And I ain't trying to shit on parents or anything like that, especially the last generation. They did the best that they could.
Right.
But the reality is, there's a lot of things that have transpired with that parent child relationship that has caused a lot of kids to be resentful. Now, one thing that would cause a kid to be resentful that have both parents is
Yeah.
that feeling that you always have to perform to be loved.
Mm.
So if you guys didn't check out the last 2 episodes. Literally, the last 2 episodes, we talk about the performance and how men feel when it comes to performing.
Yeah.
So having parents where you feel as if you always have to perform to receive love, that builds resentment. So there's
Mm-hmm.
different ways that resentment can be built. So one thing, like I said, you have to go back to see where the resentment started.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to work backwards. And this is not something that you can do alone. You can't do this alone. Let me tell you something. Resentment is so easy to. It's a very subtle thing because it happens over time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if your parents or your siblings reject you, you continue getting rejection when you're younger. That can build
Mm-hmm.
resentment over time.
Yep.
So you just have to be able to go back to see, okay, where did it start? And then you have to get help to make to help you like shift your perspective,
Mm-hmm.
right? So an outside party, a therapist is very helpful to help you shift that perspective. However, even before that, let me say this, because
Mm-hmm.
as men, we have this issue. You have to first be honest with yourself.
Don't lie to
As men,
yourself.
we're so disconnected from how we feel And we don't realize when we try to intellectualize things, we try to over rationalize things, that's us being dishonest with how we feel. So you first have to be honest with how you feel, and then therapy will be more beneficial for you. Because now you're being honest. Like I had a session with a client last night, and we're actually working on rejection because he has something called rejection sensitivity.
Okay.
And as we're working on rejection, I gave him some assignments, and he did them. And he was like, "Wow, I'm just so surprised. Like like everything worked out." And I'm like, he was like, "Yo, I don't even understand why I was so afraid to begin with." I said, "Because you have a poor relationship with rejection. You have all these negative emotions around rejection, so it's going to stop you from moving forward."
That's true.
So now that he's gaining some experience, a different type of experience with rejection, he's like, "Oh wow," you know. But what I recognized with him is that he was going to do something, and then he said, "Oh yeah, I'm tired. I'm not," so on and so forth. But then he said he thought about it again. He was like, "Nah, it's not that I'm tired. It's just I don't want to get rejected."
That's
That's the
deep.
honesty. Yeah, that's the honesty I'm talking about. He's doing
Right.
the work. So a lot of times we're making excuses and we don't realize we're just intellectualizing. We're just rationalizing it. No, you're not tired. And yeah, you can be tired, but there's other things you'll be tired and you'll still do those things.
Right.
So just being honest, which will help the therapeutic process. And then
Right.
honestly, I always tell people this, journaling. I'll be trying to tell my clients this, but people really don't understand the power of journaling.
There's an app for it now, guys.
What did you say?
There's an app for it now, guys.
Yeah, I gotta write or I gotta do audio journal. Like
Right.
getting those thoughts out, man, it's literally you're taking what you're thinking and you're feeling and you're dumping it on the paper
Instead of dumping it on your partner.
instead of dumping it on your partner.
Yeah.
Yep.
With that being
So
mm-hmm.
yeah, so those are the ways. Those are the ways right there that it can help you jumpstart getting over resentment and not allowing it to take control over your life.
Well, bro, I love you. And I definitely don't resent you, bro.
I love you too, bro. Until we pod again. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, the man that says he can and the man that says he can't are both right. Which one are you? Street cred was a major priority, and no respect for any authority. If you love school, you were in the minority. Can't be yourself, only way was conformity.